Hello and welcome to this Kickstart Your Exam Preparation webinar for Applied Skills. My name is Kritika Adati and I am a Digital Education Delivery Lead here at ACCA. I'm delighted to be joined by Richard Bailey, our Customer Experience Lead. Now, the purpose of this webinar is to provide you with a warm welcome to ACCA and to give you general exam advice, tips and resources that you need to kickstart your learning journey. So whether you've had exemptions, taken a break from your studies, or you're taking applied skills for the first time, we hope this webinar provides you with useful information to support your upcoming applied skills exams. We have a packed agenda today, so let's get started and cover some housekeeping points. Now, the agenda, as you see here for today's session, does include a brief overview of the Applied Skills Exams pathway, helping you to identify the best route through the qualification. Now, hopefully this will answer several of the questions that we were getting from students as part of the registration to this webinar as well. We'll also be highlighting useful resources to support your learning journey and the next steps that you might want to consider after this webinar. Now, I should add that this webinar is not intended to be exam specific. I know from some of the questions that were submitted in advance to this webinar that many of you were querying exam specific content and detail. So whilst this webinar will not be addressing that, we do regularly deliver subject-specific webinars, often ahead of exam sessions, where these questions might be more appropriately answered. So do look out for the comms regarding this and sign up accordingly. But don't also forget that we do have the ACCA Student Study Resources YouTube channel, which is linked to the resources for this webinar, where we do have an archive of webinars that are available to view on demand, and these are categorized by exams. Now, before we get started with the main content of this webinar, let's just run through a few housekeeping points. So at the bottom of your screen, you'll see that there are several icons that you can use. There is a help one. This one looks like gears, which provides you with the resources you need to resolve any technical issues you might encounter. There's also icons for the slides and media player. You'll need to have both of these open during the webinar to make sure you've got these selected, and you can rearrange your screen to suit your preference. Now, if at any point the sound isn't playing or the slides aren't progressing, please do just refresh your browsers. That often does the trick. Now, there is a chat icon, which I can see some of you have started using already. This allows you to communicate with other attendees. Please note that any comments added here will be visible to everyone. But if you do want to ask us a question, please use the Q&A button. We've got a dedicated team working behind the scenes committed to answering as many of your questions as possible. However, do note that given the volume of questions that we tend to receive in these live webinars, we can't guarantee responding to everyone directly. That said, we do have allotted time towards the end for a live Q&A, and we hope that in this segment we can offer responses to some of the questions that will be helpful to everyone. Now, I mentioned the resources list earlier, so there is a resource list icon which includes the various resources that will be referenced throughout this webinar, and we strongly encourage that you do take the time to explore these resources in your own time. Registering for this webinar also means that you will be sent an email tomorrow, allowing you to access a recorded version of this webinar. So please don't worry if you miss anything or you have a technical issue, you'll be able to access that through the recording and rewatch whatever it is that you might have missed. Right, if I click on to the next slide. So now that we've covered a little bit of housekeeping, let's get on to the main content. If you're pursuing the ACCA qualification, you might have aspirations to become an accountant. Maybe you want to work in finance, or maybe you want to set up your own business. Now, we had a really great question from a student as part of the registration where it was asked, what would be the emerging job opportunities of ACCA in the near future of rising technologies? Granted, technology is automating many things, but we mustn't forget that accountancy is not just about number crunching and generating those reports. It goes beyond that, offering you the skills and the technical competencies to make those strategic decisions, to lead those teams, and to drive a real change to help build a better world. So before I hand over to Rich, we wanted to present you with what I think is a really compelling and inspiring video about the important role that the profession plays in building a better world, and just why accounting, now more so than ever, is an exciting career prospect. So I'm just going to click into that video.
When I say accountancy, you think of the numbers, but it's much more than that. To change things for the better, drive prosperity and create opportunity. Who can make the numbers do all that? We're leaders. ACCA accountants understand teamwork and know how to maximize opportunities. We're essential partners in getting businesses to achieve their goals. We're communicators, able to imagine and inspire. If all the world's a stage, you must be able to speak on it. We're pioneers who test boundaries and push frontiers. We challenge people to think ahead and make ethical choices. We love sustainable solutions to today's problems. The future is ours to protect and nurture. We're digital. We harness the power of technology to innovate and push boundaries and be a positive force for good. We're artists, applying original solutions to real-world problems. When misfortune strikes, it's not just money that's needed to rebuild, but an energetic mind and original voice to overcome the odds. We're ambitious. Our accountants know no boundaries and harness the power of diverse cultures to seek out international opportunities. Accounting is the global language of business, and being fluent can take you anywhere. So when I say accountancy, sure, think of the numbers. The number of lives changed, systems improved, business successes, environments saved. Studying to become an ACCA finance professional means to future-proof your passions, your skills, your life for the opportunities of a brighter tomorrow.
Over to you, Rich.
Thank you. I always think that's such a powerful video. It's just a great advert for the profession and probably reinforces the reason you're all here, the aspirations you have, the future careers as finance professionals that you're going to succeed in. There's students from all backgrounds on this webinar. Some of you will be new to ACCA, so welcome. Some of you are looking to kickstart your studies after a break. Whatever route you've taken to get here will be a journey full of hard work, determination, perseverance. So first of all, well done to all of you. You've made an excellent decision to invest in your future by choosing ACCA as your route to becoming a qualified finance professional. But what about your route through the qualification? So this diagram is an overview of the qualification, and there are three elements to it, and that's the exams, the ethics and professional skills module, and practical experience requirements. This webinar is primarily focused on exams. And maybe from the design of the diagram, you can see that we generally expect students to progress from left to right. It will depend on exemptions, but generally speaking, students can start with the applied knowledge, applied skills exams, with the ethics and professional skills module positioned before strategic professional. Now, applied knowledge exams and corporate and business law are all on-demand exams. They can be taken at any time. The rest of the exams are session-based. They can be taken in March, June, September, or the upcoming session, December. And we'll talk a little bit more about exam sessions later on, and about how you're all going to book exams for the December session. As you might expect with a professional qualification, the difficulty of the exams increases as you progress through the stages, and also knowledge starts to build up. So things that you learn earlier in the exams become more important later on. They're the building blocks, and you want to retain that knowledge and bring it with you as you study for later exams. Now, it's worth noting the position of EPSM here. This is the ideal stage to do the module, because that content will actually help your performance at strategic professional exams. Completing EPSM before strategic professional increases pass rates by up to 25%. But within the stages of the qualification, so applied knowledge, skills, and strategic professional, there are no set rules about the order to sit exams. One of the main advantages of the ACCA qualification is flexibility, but we know that it can be daunting as there's no single path to membership. You might have a recommended pathway on the basis of your employer or your learning partner. Obviously, that's fine. But we know that lots of students find it difficult to either know where to start or to decide what to do next. So I actually just wanted to stop here and do a quick poll and ask you, do you know your route through the exams? So let's launch the poll. So do you already know that route through the exams? And can you let us know if yes, you know exactly what you're going to do? Maybe you have an approximate plan, or no, you're not sure where to start. So we'll just leave this poll up for a while, just until we start to see some responses coming in. I'm really interested to find out what the answers are here, especially as I know that we definitely have a split between newer students to ACCA and students who are thinking about coming back to kickstart their exams after a bit of a time away. So just another 30 seconds or so. Okay, the responses have started to slow down a little bit, so I think we'll move on to the answers. So let's see. Well now, so that's quite an interesting split. So about a quarter there are saying yes, they know exactly what they're going to do next. That's great, and we've got some tips to really help you move on with those next steps. Probably unsurprisingly, the majority either don't know where to start, or they maybe have an approximate plan of where they're going to go next. So the good news is that for people who aren't sure of the pathway, is that we've got another short video to help. So let's take a look.
Applied Skills has more exams than applied knowledge, so there's more to consider when plotting the best journey through them. There are 6 exams in this level: Corporate and Business Law, Taxation, Financial Reporting, Performance Management, Financial Management, and Audit and Assurance. Completing the exams in this order is a sensible default route. It's likely that you will flex the order to fit your circumstances, but we would still recommend starting with Corporate and Business Law, as it is a 2-hour exam that is similar in structure to the Applied Knowledge exams. Then looking ahead, if you have passed your Applied Knowledge exams, you will have a good understanding of what areas were more challenging and also what you enjoyed most. This may influence your choice, but let's now look in more detail at each of the remaining exams. Taxation is a subject that students usually enjoy and is a new area of learning with no underpinning exam knowledge required. So, this could be a good one to take after Corporate and Business Law, as it also introduces you to the format of the Applied Skills session-based exams. Be aware, however, that there are many variants of the tax exam, and the one you choose may only be sat twice a year, so this is also a consideration. Financial reporting builds upon the fundamental skills and knowledge learned in financial accounting, and it feels more like a continuation rather than something new. It is also an important exam that underpins strategic business reporting and strategic business leader at strategic professional. Making sense so far? Remember that you can choose the order you sit the exams, but we hope having this starting pathway helps you make your decisions. Let's now look at the next 3. If you enjoyed management accounting at Applied Knowledge, then it's worth noting that performance management builds on these fundamentals, so it will feel familiar to you. Financial management also builds on topics studied in management accounting and underpins aspects of strategic business leader, so it is a nice route into strategic professional. Finally, we have audit and assurance. This utilises knowledge gained in financial accounting, which is then further reinforced when studying financial reporting. So although you don't have to study financial reporting before audit and assurance, it will be beneficial. Audit and assurance requires you to demonstrate good written analytical skills that you will then develop in your further strategic professional exams. A few final thoughts to help you plot your path through applied skills. Although we've outlined a pathway, remember you can take the exams in any order, and your employer or learning provider may help you decide your best route. Good performance in the applied skills exams provides a strong foundation for future success at Strategic Professional. Another foundation is the Ethics and Professional Skills module. The perfect time to do EPSM is once you've completed applied skills. It will get you into great shape to move on, study and pass the strategic professional exams and complete your ACCA journey.
So hopefully that has given you a bit of guidance, possibly a bit of reassurance about your next steps. And just to remind you that you'll be able to watch this video again, we've included links in the resource list. And we also have similar videos that cover the applied skills and strategic professional stages, if that's useful to you. Now, this slide that's on screen at the moment was essentially the default route that was recommended during that video. I'll leave this slide on just a little bit longer in case anyone is scribbling down some notes or taking a screenshot. And just a reminder that the corporate and business law exam can be taken any time on demand. And it's good to try and plan taking the EPSM module towards the end of applied skills and definitely before strategic professional. Now, we've taken a look at the route through exams. And let's now talk about some of the key resources that we want you to engage with to help you pass them. So we really do have a world of support resources, but I just wanted to pick out these 4 resources to start with. Now, you can use these if you're studying on your own or alongside any resources that are provided if you're studying with a learning partner. And we do have links to information about tuition options, again, in the resources section. But I mentioned earlier, and it was referenced in the video, that knowledge in the exams builds up. And some of the exams are like building blocks. You learn things earlier and then use them later on. Well, this is why we have created the Get Ready modules. These are a series of self-check tests that you can take online, and they will assess your underlying knowledge and give you a rating on how you perform in different syllabus areas. So you take your self-check test and we'll know if you've performed well. If you haven't performed as well in particular areas, we'll flag that up and you'll be giving some recommendations about how to improve that core knowledge. Now, from analysis, we know that having good understanding of that underlying core knowledge is one of the key things to succeeding later on. And it's also useful if you come into ACCA with exemptions or if you haven't been studying for a while. They're a really great resource to reintroduce studying. So definitely one of the first resources on your list to check out should be the Get Ready modules. Next up is the practice platform. This really is one of the most important resources you will use at ACCA when you're studying towards your exams. It's an online platform that replicates the live exam environment. So already you should be thinking, the more I use this to practice, the better I will be at exam time. So within the practice platform, we've got lots of different content and exams that you can use for question practice. There's what we call a specimen exam, which is a really good initial exam. It gives you a feel for the style of the exam that you're going to be sitting. It's got all the different question types. You can use it to practice questions as well. You can do full practice exams on there. We also have past exams on there. So all the while that you're practicing, doing question practice, practicing full exams, we want you to do that in the practice platform. We also often release full mock exams that you can use as final preparation, and a full set of new mock exams is being added for the December session. And as well as the exam content and that question practice content, there are also different tools in the practice platform to help you. So you can self-mark your exams and your question practice and debrief your tests. So that when you're studying, you can tell how well your studies are progressing and just how close you are to that final exam. There's also spreadsheet, word processing tools in the practice platform, and it's mastering these tools that will give you the edge in the live exam. So log into the practice platform, use it early and use it all of the way through your studies. It really is genuinely one of the most important resources we have out there. Now, a newer tool that we have at ACCA is Compass Planner. This is an online digital planning tool that you can use to plot out and visualize your exams, which exams you might take over the next few sessions. But you can also use it to organize your study time for an individual exam. So it's an online digital planner where you can go in, log in, it's using your MyACCA details. You can block out some time when you aren't able to study, and then you can add key tasks and milestones, all of the things that you need to do to get prepared for the exam. So you can log into Compass today, and two of the things you could add in are get familiar with the Get Ready modules and log into the practice platform. And then once you've done those two simple tasks, you can go back into Compass and check them off and progress with the next stages of your study. And again, you can get more information on Compass Planner and log into it through details in the resources link. We also have In Session, which is last on the list here. In Session is a series of exam support countdown emails. So once you book your exam, we will start sending you emails with guidance, tips, and links to relevant support resources that we recommend you use in the run-up to exams. And also, if you're on Instagram, we've now started doing weekly in-session live chat on there every Wednesday. So please check that out and get involved in the comments. You know, we're keen to hear from you across lots of different channels. So I know it's a lot to take in. It's also probably quite a lot of talking for me. So let's recap this with another video.
When you study with ACCA, there's a world of resources to support every step of your learning journey. Right from the start of your studies, we have a range of videos, online tools, and guidance to help you plan your best route through the qualification. And from the moment you book your first exams, you'll start to receive tailored study support straight to your inbox within session, our exam countdown emails. These are full of advice, tips, and signposts to relevant resources. There really is support at every stage of your learning journey to complement your online or face-to-face tuition from an approved learning partner. From simple introduction videos to more focused advice from our exam team. Get your learning off to a great start with our Get Ready modules. These flexible and free online modules allow you to check and identify potential gaps in your underlying knowledge through a series of interactive quizzes. Then, you can brush up on the core concepts with recommendations and our Knowledge Recap e-learning modules. Using the ACCA practice platform is the best way to fully prepare for your exam. Use it early in your studies to get to know the exam format and CBE functionality. And then, as your knowledge progresses, increase your question practice and do full mock exams. You can then self-mark and debrief your answers using the inbuilt practice platform tools. We know that students who use the practice platform have a 14% higher pass rate. So log in early and use it all the way through your studies to improve your exam performance. There are so many other helpful tools to explore. Exam technique resources, technical articles and examiner reports, as well as podcasts, regular live webinars, and our excellent student accountant articles. And we now have the enhanced Compass Planner tool to help you organise your tasks and reflect on your progress as you work towards exam day. And if you suffer any exam setbacks, we'll be there for you to help you get back on track with bespoke webinars and guidance. And remember, you can connect with fellow students around the world at any time and share study and motivational tips in your learning community. From the very start and all the way through to membership, we are here to support your learning journey.
So that was a nice recap of some of the core resources, and again another shout out for Practice Platform and the Get Ready modules. But taking a quick look at some of the other resources we have, and we've got lots of resources on different channels. And as Kritika mentioned earlier on, she's always keen to give YouTube a plug. We do have a dedicated student support channel on YouTube. So please have a look at that channel, and links for all of these are in the resources section. It's split by exam. We have lots of introductory videos on there, a little bit more in depth. We have exam technique, we have exam debrief videos, and we have an archive of webinars like this. So webinars giving introductions to different exams, or going into a little bit more detail on some of the subjects. And also I'd recommend if you can subscribe to the YouTube channel, and that way you'll get automatic updates anytime anything else is added. And this webinar, in fact, should be appearing on that YouTube channel next week or so. So you'll be able to go and enjoy this all over again. So that's YouTube. We also have regular podcasts. We, again, have a archive of podcasts. We've got some new ones being created all the time, or you can delve into that back catalogue. And I think coming up soon will be a planning podcast, which I'm particularly looking forward to, with a tutor from Kenya, I believe. So lots of different content on there. Lots of students actually contributing to our podcasts, members, tutors, people from all parts of the world and all different circumstances, people who have come back to ACCA after a break, giving their tips to try and get motivated again. So that's definitely, if you're a fan of podcasts, then please do look at that back catalogue, and then you can listen to them on your preferred device or your channel. Also webinars. We have regular webinars before the exam session to help kickstart exam preparation. But we also have exam-specific webinars in the run-up to the exams. They're usually hosted by expert tutors, and they quite often focus on exam technique, maybe debriefing a tricky question from a previous session. They're always really very well attended, and you can also ask questions to the tutor and get them answered live on the webinar as well. And again, I just mentioned we've got the archive of webinars on the Student Support YouTube channel. We have our own online community for ACCA students to connect with each other, called the Learning Community. That's a great way to essentially connect with students from all around the world who are essentially in exactly the same situation as you. They're either new to the exams, they're studying for a particular exam, and it's great to go on there, ask questions, answer questions, and just generally support each other, one another as you're going through the qualification. So I would definitely recommend logging into the Learning Community and seeing what's happening. Onto ACCA-X. This is an online digital learning. There's lots of different courses on there from ACCA. The courses themselves are primarily geared towards the foundations and the applied knowledge levels of the qualification, but they're also excellent for dipping into to learn about accounting and finance, like the fundamental principles. So they're definitely worth investigating. And also there's a free course, MA1, as part of ACCA-X, that can be used to help support your spreadsheet skills. So if that's something that you're maybe not as confident about or something you'd like to brush up on, then ACCA-X is a good place to look. And lastly on this list, but by no means least, we have a brand new resource launching this session after the December exams, My Exam Performance. It's something that I'm really very excited about. I think you will be too. So let's find out some more about My Exam Performance.
Introducing My Exam Performance, your personalised exam feedback report, helping you understand your strengths and weaknesses in the exam, including guidance on your time management, how you have performed across the syllabus, your objective test skills and guidance on the constructed response questions. It provides valuable tips and insights into how you can improve your exam performance.
So just a little snippet, a little teaser of what My Exam Performance is. But essentially, it's a new support product. It was trialled for the September exam session with a select group of students. And actually, I think the launch was yesterday to applied skills students. So it really is, hot off the press, brand new. But really an excellent support resource. So once you take an exam at results time, it will give you feedback on how you have performed in the exam, how you've performed in the syllabus area, how you've performed, how your time management was in the different parts of the exam, how you've performed in particular set of questions, objective skills tests, and also constructive response questions. So really such a detailed feedback report about how you've performed at the exams. And it's launching more widely after the December session, just for applied skills at the moment. And we're working on introducing it for strategic professional. Now, one of the things I just want to reinforce about My Exam Performance is it's not just about not just for students who fail. Of course, it's an excellent resource for if you do unfortunately fail, and you can use it along with our Back on Track series, which is, again, bespoke webinars, toolkits, and emails, and it will help you, brush up on, identify those weaker areas, and then brush up on them. But it's also an important thing, even if you've passed the exam, because it still helps you identify areas for improvement, and then helps you support decisions on next steps as well. And we know that the better you can do earlier on in the qualification, so the more you can strive to improve across each of the exams, the better this will set you up in a later date. So a really exciting introduction, just announced yesterday. Yeah, something that you'll be able to take advantage of at the next exam session once you book for December. Now, we're spent a bit of time talking about resources, and now I want to kind of edge towards finishing off to think about exams. So again, I want to actually at this stage drop in another poll. So thinking about the exams and thinking about the exams at the December session, answer me this, please. are you currently planning to take exams at the December session? So right now, today, obviously we're on a webinar called Kickstart Your Exam Preparation. So I'm hoping that you're in the mindset to be thinking about moving towards taking exams and booking for December session. But yeah, are you currently planning to take exams? So yes, you're already booked, maybe already. Yes, but you're not sure what you're going to do. You haven't booked yet. You're still making up your mind, or no, you're not ready to start taking exams. So yeah, once again, I'm really interested to see what you think about this one. We've still got some responses coming in, so I'll maybe just another 30 seconds or so. Okay, let's look at the results. So, very interesting. So the majority are booked or know what they're going to do but haven't booked just yet. That's good. A few maybes in there and a similar amount of students in there saying they're not quite ready to start taking their exams. So interesting indeed. So let us talk just a little bit more about the exams themselves. It's useful just to recap on the exam cycle. When it comes to exam bookings, applied skills, apart from law exam, are session-based exams. They can be taken at our 4 exam sessions, so March, June, September, and December. So for the people who aren't quite yet booked yet, this is the perfect time to book. The deadline for booking the exam is the 31st of October. And if you are still thinking about it, if you're still on the fence and not quite sure what to do, then I hope what you've heard here today is giving you confidence to go and book your exam. And also remember, as soon as you book, you'll start to receive the in-session countdown emails with all of the information that you need to get you exam ready and get you through to passing the exams. Just a reminder, and I think we saw some questions about this in the chat. Your exam will be on a computer. It's a computer-based exam. A CBE might be a term that you see around the ACCA website or hear people talking about. And depending on your location, you will either sit that exam in an exam centre or you will sit it at home as a remote exam. So exams at home or an RI, remotely invigilated exam. This again is some of the terminology and some of the language you might hear around about exams. So in fact, in some locations, a remote exam, an RI, is the default option. So it's important if you check on the table on the exam methods page, again, which we've got in the resources list, and then check your location and see what is available in that location, whether you have a choice between a remote exam or an exam in an exam centre. And I can tell you that we've got lots and lots of students sitting at exams by remote all around the world, and far and away it's becoming the most popular option. Loads of students love the convenience, love that they don't have to travel, and maybe they love the extra hour of cramming studies they get in the morning of the exam instead of having to travel to an exam centre. And they like the fact that it's they take the exam on the same device as they're studying. So if you're studying at home on a laptop, that's the laptop that you'll use in the exam itself. So full details are online, but just one note about remote exams. is that you need to make sure that your computer is set up to meet technical and connectivity requirements. But don't worry, we've got lots of support information on the website to help you through that. And also we've got a new decision tree tool which will be coming soon, which you'll learn about in your emails on Student Accountant. So just before we stop for Q&A, just want to finish off with, so what is next? So the next thing you should do is plan, and there's different levels to this. So initially you need to generally plan which order to take your exams. So this doesn't apply to that group of students who are already booked and know what's happening. If you are still deciding, then you do need to plan when you're going to take your exams. And we think about planning, I think it's good to work more than one session at a time. It's good to plot out for the next few exam sessions, maybe even a year in advance. Set some initial targets, set some goals about which exams you want to set and what you want to complete in that time. So we've already seen the video to help you plot out the order to help your exams, so you might want to look at that again. If you're not sure which order to take your exams, another route is to connect with students in the learning community. There's thousands of students from all around the world who are either in the same situation as you right now, or they have been in exactly that situation. So they'll be able to advise you and support you. So planning, if you're still not sure what to do, if you do know what you're sitting, then you also need to plan. It's a matter of when is the exam day, and then work back from then. What are all the activities you need to do, and what are the tasks that you need to complete, in which order. And then again, you can use the Compass planning tool to manage all of those tasks and those activities, and then check them off as you go through to exams. So planning really is quite important. After that, I think maybe it's good to explore. So follow the links that are in the resources list, and maybe watch this webinar again if you need to. If you're looking for a general overview, I think the preparing for exams section of the website is a really good summary. That gives you all the information you need to get going. And that's where, if you click on the next steps button below, that's where that will take you. And I would definitely recommend that you take an early look at the Get Ready modules and the practice platform. So planning and explore, and then the final step, that next step, it might be the most nerve-wracking step, but it might even be the most important step. It's good to commit. So to the 70% who aren't already booked for an exam, it's a good idea to commit and book that next exam. We know from experience that it's booking an exam that really gives you the motivation to kickstart your studies and to get on and properly start preparing and get ready for passing exams, and work your way to becoming a member and getting that job and that career, which is the reason why you've joined us to start with. For extra motivation, one useful tactic is maybe to tell people you're doing it, tell your friends, tell your family, tell other students on the learning community that you've booked an exam and that you're studying for the December session. That really is an excellent way to get some additional motivation and some additional support. So that is all from me. I'm going to bring in Kritika again. And we're going to, I don't know, Kritika, if you get any kind of final thoughts just to kind of summarise what's happened before we get into the Q&A?
No, I think that's brilliant, Rich. I mean, all the resources you've covered. Certainly as a student, I would have felt really excited about them and wish they existed for me when I was sort of studying. So no, some great points. And I particularly like that point that you've just made about having that exam booked, because I know as a student myself, just knowing that I had something to work towards kind of made me want to get my butt in gear and do some work and study and learn. And so I think that's a really important point. So no, thank you so much, Rich, for all the information that you've given, and just sort of turning our attention, I guess, to the inbox. And we are getting quite a few questions. Just to flag also, I know some students were saying in the chat they really liked the Pathways video, which was great. Do make sure that you do revisit that if you need. Rich mentioned it's on the resources to this webinar, and it's also on our YouTube channel as as well. And some of you are also talking about the Instagram, our Instagram channel. So we've shared the link with that in the chat as well. Do check out the live in sessions that will be taking place every week as well. Right, so just dipping into the inbox, Rich, and I guess I'll start with a question that perhaps you've kind of broadly covered through what we've spoken about already, but maybe just to really reiterate, and one we get often, right? It's a big question. It's how to best prepare so that I can pass my exams. Do you have anything that you could just summarize for us based on what we've just covered today?
Sure. Based on what we've just covered, I think it's we know what your goal is. Your goal is to take exams and to pass exams and to become a member ultimately. So the next thing you need is a plan to try and meet that goal, to actually satisfy it. So book an exam, organise your time, use Compass, and then start with, we've got some really good introductory videos for each exam, which gives you just that kind of snapshot that will ease you into things. And then it's the get ready modules to really start thinking about those underlying knowledge. Also, the Examiner's Approach article is one that I would recommend there. That's written by our examining team, which goes into a little bit more detail to really just start to get you into the exam mindset. More broadly, if you're talking about just like kind of organising your time, when are you able to study? Think about whether you best to study, is it early morning, are you a night owl? And then just try and block out that time, protect that time, make sure everyone else knows that you're studying, you've not to be bothered, and then just try and kind of build up that routine and get into the habit. It's really just getting into the habit and doing, which is going to get you towards the exam success.
Yeah, no, absolutely. Those are really great points. And that point about just blocking out that time, making sure you've got that in your calendar, knowing that you're not meant to be disturbed during the time you're meant to be studying, I think is a really important point that you note there, Rich. Just whilst I'm on questions with you, Rich, can I also ask, and you covered this really well when you mentioned about the practice platform. We know it's one of the things that we often tell our students to sort of go to in terms of question practice. Could you just reiterate for us also the content that's included within the practice platform? You did do that sort of segment. If you could just sort of recap that as well, so our students are crystal clear as to where they can go for the mock exam practice.
Yeah, so there's lots of different content on there, and you'll use that content at different stages of your preparation. So right now, maybe the early phases, log in and look at the specimen exam, which is a kind of a general exam, which gives you a flavour for what the exam's going to be like on exam day. You can dip into that. Then there are some practice exams, which are a bit more focused on actually answering them, seeing how you're performing, debriefing your exams, and then that kind of helps you with that kind of learning cycle. You know, okay, I've done well in this area, right, that's tick. I've not done so well in this area, I need to go back and do some learning. Then as you get towards exam day, you want to ramp up with question practice, moving towards doing a full exam under time conditions, because the closer you get to practicing in exam conditions, the better you'll do on exam day. And then it's that final mock exam. So the mock exams for December haven't been released just yet. So keep an eye on your emails and your in-session as we work towards exam day. But these are the kind of the final exam preparation in the practice platform. That's the one where you really, really definitely want to do it under exam conditions, and well, not more importantly, but equally importantly, is debrief that exam as well. So it's, yeah, have you got any advice for debriefing exams, Kritika?
Do you know what?
An area that you're really passionate about.
I really am. And actually, we did have a student asking us about what are your top tips for taking computer-based exams. And the first thing that sort of sprung to mind was, yes, doing the actual practice on the, the practice platform is important, but debriefing is equally as important. Yeah. And we cannot stress this enough, because really, if you don't go back and look at what it is that you have written for a particular question and compare it against what the official answer or marking guide says, you're never really going to know whether or not you've actually picked up the marks or where it is that you've gone wrong. So without that debriefing component, you're not going to be able to better your performance. So I really think it's important that, yes, you do the questions, but go back and check where it is that you're performing well or maybe not performing well, so that you can improve. And we do have marking guides and sample answers for all the questions that are on the practice platform. There is a video as well that walks you through how you can access this once you have practiced the questions. That's on our YouTube channel, but also quite frequently on the YouTube channel as well, we tend to put out debrief videos as well for some of the content that's within the practice platform, don't we, Rich? So, definitely do check that out. And I particularly liked also the point you made about time management. So often we do get examiner reports stressing that students didn't get to the end of the exam, or they didn't complete a question. And we know that if you don't get to the end of the exam or you don't complete a question, you're really going to jeopardize your chances of picking up the most marks. So it's really important. We were answering a couple of questions that we received through the chat earlier about time management. Work out how many minutes are required per mark. And once you have that in your mind, it's usually 1.8 minutes a mark for the applied skills exams. If you're looking at a 10-mark question, well, you should be spending 18 minutes answering it. And if you're taking longer, discipline yourself to move on. I know it's hard to do, but you've got to get into that mindset. It's the breadth of coverage rather than the depth. And I think that's what really we should be thinking about here. So just wanted to add those bits there.
No, absolutely. While we're kind of talking about managing time, a question in here about how best to manage working and studying at the same time.
That's a big question, isn't it? And I know a lot of students will probably be doing this. They'll be working and then they're also studying. And actually, if I think about my journey, I was working and studying at the same time when I was doing my sort of qualification. I'm not going to lie, it was tough. It is tough to sort of do your 9-to-5 job or whatever hours you're working, and then to have to come home in the evenings or whatever and think about studying. But I think the best thing, and this is something you've said earlier, Rich, to really block out that time and really, sort of make sure that when you're blocking out that time is dedicated to studying. So find a time that you won't be disturbed. For me, I'm a morning person. I love waking up early. And so what I would do when I was working and studying is I would wake up at 5 o'clock in the morning. I'd get in 1 hour of studying before I went into the office. Now, for me, that really worked, because then I just felt a little bit like, oh, I've already done some work before I've gone into the office. So that worked for me. Also, think about how you can utilize time that you might otherwise just be scrolling through your phone. So for instance, something else that worked for me, and this was before podcasts became really mainstream, I used to have an app called Audio Notes, and I would record myself going through, this sounds really sad, but I would be talking through some of the notes, my summary notes as it were, and then I'd listen to those on my journey to and from work. Now we have podcasts. Rich mentioned the podcast episodes that we have there. They are very quick, short episodes. So why not utilize what would otherwise be idle time to actually do a bit of learning? So, listen to podcasts. Browse our YouTube channel, watch the short bite-sized videos on there, read through the information that's on our website. We've linked this within the resources to this webinar. So do consider doing that. And also something, Rich, you mentioned was using the learning community to find a study buddy. That might help you and motivate, you can motivate each other to ensure that you are committing some time in your working day to also study a little bit as well. And I think little and often is the key. So
it's that kind of you need to, it's little and often, and just being really protective of that time. This is dedicated study time. Find a time that works for you to do that. The other thing I would maybe
Absolutely.
just add in there is watch your balance. You know, we need to be careful of our well-being. You know, busy jobs, exams, let's face it, it's a stressful time. So when you've got the different stresses and strains, you know, whether it's work commitments, family commitments, other things that are, you know, that you can't control, it's just, you know, time to make sure that you look after yourself, try and stay hydrated, eat well, sleep properly, maybe put down the phone, go for a walk, you know, just like kind of a walk around the block can be really, really beneficial. So, especially when you get into the kind of the nitty gritty of the kind of final exam days and those kind of final study, it's quite a stressful time, but just like kind of to be mindful, to look after yourself while you're doing that.
Absolutely, Rich. Those are really, really important points. Yeah, no, go for it, Rich.
Yeah, there was a specific question here about sitting 2 exams together. So the example here is AA and FM. Is that something you could sit together?
So yeah, good question. And we have had a couple of students asking about, is it possible to sit 2 exams? Firstly, I'm just going to address the first point. So again, thinking back to my journey, I was working, like I say, and studying at the same time. And so my employer was very much dictating the exams I had to do. So I had no choice but to do 2 with every sitting. So I guess the short answer is it is absolutely possible to sit 2 exams at the same time. However, if you have the flexibility to make a choice, I would really consider a couple of things. So think about whether you have certain commitments that might then just make it a bit more of a challenge for you to commit fully to studying for 2 exams. So, you know, if you're working and you also have kids, for instance, that might just make it that little bit more challenging for you to really fully commit to studying towards 2 exams. And, you know, the syllabus content for all the applied skills exams, it is vast and varied. And you want to make sure that if you're going to be working towards 2 exams, that you can give yourself the best chance of covering the technical content, right? So that's one thing to bear in mind. Also, just think about things like, you know, are you busy at work, and are there certain work projects that might consume some of your time, even outside of work hours? That means you might not have the brain capacity to even work towards 2 exams. So, you know, a few things to bear in mind there. In terms of the specific example, Rich, for AA and FM, there's nothing stopping you from doing those 2 modules together, right? Audit and assurance is very much about, you know, thinking about risks and audit procedures, different assurance engagements. Financial management, totally unrelated. You're thinking here about, you know, making decisions about investments, appraisals, valuations, totally different. You can couple them together. One thing I will say is that if you are going to do AA, you want to have made sure you've done FR before you do AA. And the reason we say that is because often in the AA exam, the scenarios you're presented with, some of the accounting treatment you might need to be familiar with before. So do just bear that in mind if you are thinking to do AA and FM. Just make sure you've done FR before. And I think, Rich, that was something reiterated in the Pathways video as well. So hopefully to whoever's asked that question, that does address a couple of the points there. Brilliant.
There's a couple I just want to knock off quickly, if that's okay. Someone's saying, can you sit a law exam remotely? Yes, you can. You can find details on the website. And will my exam performance be available to receive feedback for exams sat in December this year? Yes. For applied skills, yes, it will. So good luck with both of those.
Brilliant, absolutely. So, Rich, I think, are we coming close to time? Do we see anything else that we want to mop up in?
Just one, if I can cram in, how do I prepare for exams after returning to studies from a break? I think a lot of the tips and advice in here is still solid. For me, it's if it's after a break, then it's kind of trying to connect with why did you register with ACCA to start with? You know, what are your original goals? And try and get back into that mindset and then kick on.
Absolutely. Brilliant. Now, I think we're reaching close to time, so better wrap up with our closing chat. Just want to say thank you to everyone that's registered for this webinar and for your participation, both in the Q&A and also the chat function as well. Remember that everyone that has registered for this webinar will be getting an email tomorrow, and this will detail, you know, how you can access and listen to it again. And as Rich mentioned, this will also be going on our YouTube, so you can also listen to it on demand there. If you do have friends and colleagues that you think might benefit from listening to this webinar as well, do feel free to circulate the link. A big thank you to Rich for all the wonderful information he's given to us today, to the team behind the scene that have helped deal with your questions, and once again, a big thank you to you guys for your participation. Wishing you the very best of luck for your forthcoming exam. So that's a goodbye and good luck from us.
Good luck.